You've directed films. You've set up what is probably one of the best schools for filmmaking with the LV Prasad Institute in South India. You've taught people across the world. What have you enjoyed the most?
Oh, what I enjoy is the creative process of visualizing and
Okay.
translating the words that I have in mind into images. So I
Okay.
am a
Got it.
believer that cinema has to show and not tell.
Okay.
You see, the traditional way of cinema is having five people in front of the camera and they talk. And I said,
Right.
no, this is that I can hear it on a radio. Why should I see and to see five people talk? So
Yeah.
cinema must show. And to show, every filmmaker must have a good background of the history of visualization because you are composing something in front of the camera. It is not happening accidentally, even if you're doing it,
Right.
irregardless. But when you keep the camera in one place and show something, I believe that you have taken a conscious decision to show that. So, how do I bring that consciousness of this decision making process to the audience? This,
Right.
this deliberation is the most important thing of an artist.
Okay.
That's it.
The founder of the LV Prasad Film Academy in Chennai, a filmmaker who started with Ghashiram Kotwal, one of the most iconic films made way back in the 70s. The number of people he's taught filmmaking to and discussed films with and been on juries across the world, taught film and filmmaking across the world. I'm privileged and honored to have our guest, Hariharan Krishnan, come on stage today. And today he'll be talking not just about what his career has been like, but what it means to look at a career in film starting now. Because he's looked at the past 50 years and he's in a wonderfully advantageous position to show where filmmaking is going. My name is Venugopal. I head Ideascape, a company to branding and design. And every week we go through different career experiences. So I'm very honored to have Hariharan with us today. Wonderful to
Thank
have
you
you
so
on the
much.
show.
Wonderful. Thank you so
So
much.
let me start with always where the story begins. So when did you develop an interest in cinema? Much before FTII.
Oh, much before FTII. You see, I must tell you that I was not, I joke at this, I was not born in a maternity ward. I was born in a film laboratory. In a sense, my father, he had this unenviable task of bringing color negatives to India. The
Okay.
first person who went to London on behalf of Kodak, Eastman Kodak, to buy the first bring the first batch of color negatives. And
Wow.
bringing color negative is not just something you said. You have to set up the laboratories, you have to set up processing systems, you have to teach cameramen how to use color negative, how to light up sets, how to do makeup. And I was so privileged as a little boy. I will accompany him. I think my mother wanted to just get rid of me because three other kids after me, let him go wherever you are. So I tagged along with my dad and I went to film laboratories, studios, watched rushes, just playing film, no soundtrack. And my father will be
Right.
discussing. I will overhear these discussions. And into my house came some of the greatest stalwarts of Indian cinema, from Satyajit Ray to Subrata Mitra to B.R. Chopra, Yash Chopra. They'll all come home to discuss with my father, how do we do this scene? Pakiza, for example, Kamal Amro, he said, you have to come to the set and tell me how to light up this massive set that I have built. So he would
Wow.
go there as an advisor from a color point of view, not to teach them how to shoot the film. And they all had enormous respect for him, and he was called Kodak Krishnan. Everybody referred to him as Kodak Krishnan. He was the law, the final word in everything. And then he was a great lover of cinema. He would take me to, when I was very young, I saw Citizen Kane, Rashomon, Godard, Cook,
Wow.
Mizoguchi, name. And so when I finished the 11th standard, I was all set to go to the FTII. I said, I have to learn direction, nothing else. But when I went there, they told me, you have to be a graduate. I said, why? I'm ready right now. No, no, you have to finish 4 years of graduation, then come. I said, oh
Okay.
my God, 4 years more. So I said, let me do the easiest graduation in which I shall never fail. And I did a little bit of survey and I found that the easiest graduation is to do bachelor's in commerce, BCom. You, they told me, you don't have to study anything, just read the book and you pass. And during those 4 years, Venu, I read so many books, so world literature. I just immersed myself, and I saw so many films. I wrote reviews. I did paintings. I learned about dance. So when I came to the FTI interview, I was like, my God, this is the final moment. If I'm not selected here, what am I going to do? But then they were so, and the interview board was so amazed. How do you know so much? I said, what to do?
Okay.
I've been brought up in a family like that. I am Kodak Krishnan's son. And you should have seen the sparkle in their eyes. You are Mr. Krishnan's son. Wow. Come,
Okay.
come, come, join him. And that is how I came to FTII. And from the very first day, you see, I told my classmates, look, I am not here to study. I am here to make film
Okay.
and practice this art. This sadhana is most important for me. I don't think I will get this opportunity outside of this, you see. So taking a
Okay.
camera, shooting, seeing the framing, editing, seeing how 2 frames make a difference, 3 seconds make a difference. These kind of things, I kept training myself, you see. And that's at the end of the third year, I told my classmates, we must form a cooperative. We must all make a film. Before we leave this campus, we should make a movie. I said, how? Yeah, we will make a film. We've got a playwright, Vijay Tendulkar. There's a brilliant play called Ghasiram Kotwal. Come on, bring her.
You got
I said,
Vijay
no.
Tendulkar to write your first script?
Yeah, I wrote the screenplay. Yes. I just spoke to him. And, at that time, Badal Sarkar was visiting, Pune. And I said, sir, can you conduct a workshop for us in theater? Oh, sure. And we had a 3-day workshop with Badal Sarkar, which influenced
Okay.
enormously the kind of shot takings and performances we did in the film. And therefore, my classmates were all, wow, we are actually making a feature film with all FTI equipment. And I finished the shooting in 10 days' time with 40 actors, 14 songs, and I pulled it. It's just sheer leadership. So, my first rule that a film director is, first of all, a good HR manager.
Right.
You see, the script work is done, everything is done. Now, what do you do on the location? You got to manage people,
Yeah.
actors, light boys, caterers who are bringing food. I have to manage everybody, transport people. So you have to be a good HR manager. Creativity is on the location is 10%. 90% is perspiration. You cannot think
Yeah.
and go there and can scratch your beard and say, where shall we keep the camera? No, you go there and say, this is the way. They finish it here. You see. So I tell
Right.
my students that when you are a filmmaker, you are a structural engineer, not an architect. The architect can take a long time on the design table, this combination, that. But your structural engineer is given, I want in 18 months, this building should be up. And
Right.
this is the budget, and you bloody well do it. And I'm a structural engineer when I come to make films, you see. And an architect before I come into the shooting floor and the editing floor. I think these are things that taught me enormously about cinema is not all about passion. It's about hard work. It's all about continuously keeping yourself informed about the developments in the world outside. What is that filmmaker doing? What is this filmmaker doing? Oh my God, he has experimented like this. Why can't I bring this experiment into my film? That is how filmmakers have to keep moving on, breaking barriers, and developing new languages. And therefore, if you ask me, when did I first lecture my students? It is on day one when I joined the FTI. because all my classmates were looking at me and said, "Where did you learn all this?" I said, "Well, I was born in a film laboratory. I know all this." And I was the go-to guy. Anything and
Yeah.
anything, go to Hariharan. He will have an answer for this. And that gives me, this kind of, I'm not saying adulation, but this kind of confidence is really built me up, and said, "Look, you can handle it. Go ahead." And that is how I came to
And
make Ashiram.
right, which is such an auspicious start because you're born into, like you said, a film laboratory, but you
Exactly.
chose to sort of understand and grow, which is again one of those things where privilege can get you to a certain point, but the
Yes.
knowledge doesn't come with privilege. That has to be, uh, you know, taken in.
Very true.
And that I think is one of the standouts as far as you're concerned. Simply because you had the advantage didn't mean that you sat back and you said, okay, it'll come to me. No, you continue to persist. What I find quite unusual is the academic and the literary aspect that you studiously cultivated and have continued to do so 50 years later. So, where does
Yes.
that come from? A lifelong curiosity?
So I think it is my love to share information. I never kept
Okay.
secrets. And if I know that this is the value of a 50 millimeter lens versus the 35, I would love to share this, my joy of discovering. And I never thought that this should be maintained as a closely guarded secret. You see, keep sharing it. And I think that has helped me enormously because when I come to my unit, everybody, even the light boy would wonder, how did you take this decision? And I'll explain to them. Look at this frame. Look at this. Okay, okay. Now I understand. So
Oh,
this
okay.
joy of sharing, all that is again I inherited this from my father, who was always sharing, 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 sharing. And he very, but all at the same time not being proud about it. I'm not arrogant about the
Hmm.
fact that I know so
Hmm.
much. And I know it because I want to share it. I don't want to keep it. And I will tell you a small incident. I used to teach a very famous writer called U.R. Anantamurthy. One day attended my class.
Wow.
The
Okay.
great novelist. He attended my
Yeah,
class
yeah.
when I was in America. And he, after the class, he said, "Hari, you give so much to the students. You don't keep anything for yourself. How will you become a filmmaker if you give away everything like this?" I said, "Look, if I give away, I will get more into me to give away. You see, I'm not guarding a small parcel of information. I will,
Yeah.
if I give 10 pieces, I will get 100 pieces to replace it. You see, so that is my process, and I never feel threatened by the fact that I'm teaching people. In fact, it gives me great
Right.
joy to meet students who come to me after 50 years. "Sir, I attended your lecture there, and I learned some valuable pieces of information." That joy. This is again when people would ask Satyajit Ray, "Why do you make films?" And he would say, "It's sheer for the joy of making films." So in a way, what is the converse of this? The converse is that I don't make films to make money.
Right.
You see, that is important. I don't look at the checkbook, to know what I am worth. I always look
Right.
at the joy that it gives me. That is important for me.
And that's such a wonderful philosophy to approach life and a career because it's not about what you leave behind, again, is not money. What you leave behind is what you have understood and shared with other people because
Right.
they in a sense carry on whatever you have sort of spread to them and shared with them and told them about. And that richness is something which I feel people tend to lose out on when you look at something purely from a commercial aspect.
Yes. Right.
Because the commercial aspect is important. I'm not saying without that more films cannot be produced, but it can't be the only reason films are made. Whereas
Correct.
today's journalism, today's interviews are all focused on the collections that the movie made and not necessarily about the kind of impact that it has had.
Very
Which
true.
I think for a short while in the 80s and 90s, you had these films where people used to talk about how that film changed your life or how it really played into a reflection of what society was during those times. Do you think
Yeah.
that that
I,
has consciously happened?
it is very true that it is very true that students have to keep in mind that they have to earn some money, that this is a job, an industrial job, where you are using equipment not like a painter and not like a sculptor and not like a dancer. You are a filmmaker. You need equipment, microphone, sound, lensing, mixing and all that stuff. So there is a certain kind of monetary value to all that. You have to be very conscious of that, that I have got this much money, and within this much money I can make this film. Okay. And how do you learn that? You see, then you go ask other people, how did you make this film? How much did it cost you? I think that is very important. Budgeting is very, very important. Once you do that basic exercise, when you come on the location, don't be bothered about it. Give it to a production manager. Let that person handle it, because they are good at it. You see, don't sit and ask for how much did the idli cost and how much did that vada cost. That's all done. That's all done and gone. You leave it to him and that or her, they will handle it. You just go on the world of how am I going to get the best out of this little screenplay that I have written. So my advice to myself was that, look, please take on such projects which you can handle comfortably. That is very important. So at the
Right.
right at the beginning, I said, look, if I am going to be subjected to the selection of a big actor, on my location, then my comfort level comes down that much. Because after all, that actor, he has done many more films than I have made. And he's being paid quantumly more than me. He'll be paid more than what I'm being paid. And therefore, on the location, the financier or the producer will certainly pay more attention to his inputs or her inputs than my inputs, which is absolutely taken for granted. So, right at the beginning, I would say, look, I am a low budget filmmaker. I like to make films which are intimate stories about families, about people having small problems, daily day-to-day problems. And that is how I like to tell my story, because I can see myself in that. I cannot see myself in a film like, you know, Indian or Shankar's movies, kind of big blockbuster, big song picturization. I don't see myself in it at all. So although I may watch those films and I may appreciate the film, but when it comes to making films, I like to do film that will reflect me in it. So I have made three children's films, and I have made, experiment film like Bhasiram. I have done a film based on a novel by Ki Rajnaran called Current, Current.
Okay.
So you can go on YouTube and type Current, Om Puri. Please put Om Puri next to it, because there are many
Okay.
currents there. And you will see my feature film there, which is this based a very simple story. A farmer who has not paid his electricity bill, current bill he has not paid. What happens because of that one default of his own? How does he have to go from pillar to post to get the current restored to his field? That's all. That's all the story is. So I will say that for me, the execution of the production and my idea has to be at my comfort level. I do not want to take on tasks which are beyond my comfort levels. So yes, to that extent, yes, I will not be earning that kind of money which Mani Ratnam makes, or somebody else makes. Fair enough. I'm not in competition with him.
That's fine.
I am trying to do what I want to do best. So I think for every person who's choosing a career here, he or she has to take a decision. What are you capable of at the best? Don't be
That has
enamored
to
by
be your, yeah, exactly.
my go. That is my mantra. I'm not bothered about how much the film collected, what is the box office. And that is not my concern. Because when a person makes a film, how much ever their intention is to make it a big box office success, at the end of the day, 85% of Indian feature films flop.
Right.
They flop at the box office. Now, that doesn't mean they're all bad films or they are all award winning films. No, they are films which did not work. And that is where I must understand that cinema is a democratic medium. You may put in the best of intentions, best of, but the film doesn't run, and it could not run for many reasons. It could be
Right.
monsoons at that time, it could be election time, it could be cricket time, so many reasons, and your film gets bypassed. In this case, So, therefore, my first objective, and I'll tell all my friends, work towards cutting the losses first. From a commercial point of view, you presume that this film is going to lose money. Now, cut your losses and ensure that you do your best. And when I say you do your best, it means working within a very well done budget and a very prescribed time frame. So you want to finish a film in 20 days, you must be ready with every shot for that minute on those 20 days. You must ensure that you finish the film in 20 days. And therefore, you should have plan B, plan C, plan D. Things will not go the way you want it on location. Oh my God, I have seen it enough.
Right.
What is your plan B when that happens? So these are all things you must anticipate as a producer and come to the location with full knowledge of this and pass this information to your production, your executive producer. And he should or she should know what is the plan B, plan C, plan D. So
Right.
I come to a location and I find that an actor has not turned up. What am I going to do now? So I ask him, okay, what should I do? So there is one scene, the another scene which does not require him. Why don't you shoot that now? Good.
Right.
Let me shoot that now. These are things you should be ready for and not feel depressed that that actor has not turned up. Don't worry. You can always replace it. And today with AI, you can replace an actor with an AI image. Get lost. I don't want you. See, so these are all
Great.
practical things that are happening today in the film industry. That is what I will advise all people wanting to choose film career. Be very conscious of your product. What is it going to cost? And how much time do you have to make it?
Okay.
And do you have a well-written screenplay, a structure, an outline right at the beginning?
Start from
If
there.
you have
Yeah.
it,
Okay.
you are sure you're a winner. You're a winner. And to make that happen, I go to the location 1 month before. I
Okay.
stay in the location because that doesn't cost so much money. Just yourself and your cameraman and one more
Right.
production person. You go everything. Keep on going through all the plan B's, plan C's. If this doesn't happen on this day, what do you do? What do you do? Then you plan it out. And then when you come on the day one, you are on a,
You're
you are
already
trained
familiar with the
yourself well.
place. Yeah.
You are Sunil Gavaskar or with Sachin Tendulkar on the bat. Go hit that six, get it done. That confidence you should
Okay.
not only give yourself, but to everybody in the crew. They should all feel that, hey, when you go with this director, this fellow knows what he is doing. I think that is the inspiration you should inspire. Now, why I feel the other way is that if you take a big actor on location, there are so many improbables that come along.
Yeah.
So many improbables that come along.
Very
And
true.
I have seen on locations, the actor doesn't turn up because he has not been paid his installment. And I said, what? This is the reason why he's not come. He was promised some 20 lakhs on that day. It didn't reach him. So he has chosen not to come. He's a big star. So they can do what they want.
Yeah.
And I tell, why should I make myself subject to that? You see. So at the
Okay.
same time, you're making low budget films, be sure that your artistic intentions and communicative capabilities match. See, that is
Okay.
very important. You can have all artistic ideas, but you have the capacity to communicate that. And for that, you have to keep studying. You have to keep studying films. And I'm telling you, my young students must understand, my young aspiring filmmakers must understand that today you are in an enormous advantage getting a film on a laptop. You know, you can you can calculate every minute on that. You see, oh, he has taken 1 minute to say this, 2 minutes to do this. This happens in the 30th minute. This I never had.
Yeah.
I'm watching the film on the screen. I can't stop the film and say this 30th minute and 40th minute.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
the
I
architecture
think
of
we'll
film.
go through all that. I think you're covering so much of ground that I'd probably want to do a summation of whatever we've done so far, talked about so far, and then I'll come back to the practical aspects of filmmaking itself, which we'll talk
Yeah,
about.
sure,
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
So I have the privilege of talking to Hariharan Krishnan, who is a doyen of the Indian film industry from the directorial point of view, the academic point of view, and in the number of people he's nurtured and built in the film industry. He spoke about being born in in a film production laboratory, And because his father had access and brought Kodak color film to India, he had the privilege of working with people whom we know as the icons of the Indian film industry. Everyone from Satyajit Ray to Kamal Amrohi to B.R. Chopra, writers like U.R. Anantmurthy. And his very first film, he collaborated and worked with Vijay Tendulkar, which tells you about the kind of depth and origins of the foundations of the Indian film industry that his entire career has been built upon. He spoke beautifully about what it takes to mount a film, and that one nugget which he told you, not every aspect of film needs to be expensive. The director and the photographer can go and spend time in the location by themselves and know the lay of the land and know exactly how the shots can be planned, is one of those little nuggets that comes to you after experience, but you can draw on his experience. And in the next segment, I'll be talking to him about the aspects of how he has managed to transition during a period of intense change in the film industry from a technological, distribution, and a commercial point of view. So, Hariharan, can you tell me about when you started? It was all 35 then you got digital, and now there's streaming, and there's the internet. So,
Yes.
to constantly be on top of things across this whole changing media, what did you focus on?
Yeah. So my primary focus on was on, am I able to put across the thoughts that I have to my audience? That's the very basic.
Okay.
I know so much. I know so much about India. I know so much about the world. I know so much about cinema. Can I communicate this? This is always at the back of my mind. But there are real problems. Say, when I made my first film, Ram, then I came to Chennai. I did a film called Era of the Manida, which won the
Yeah.
National Award for the Best Tamil Film. It had Bharati songs. It ran quite well. It was shown on television. But then when I went on to pitch my ideas to producers, they were always a little wary. They say, Hariharan, you seem to be winning awards, we want rewards. And I would tell them, come on, that doesn't happen so easily. You all know that. You cannot expect every film to reward you. There are 85% which are flopping. But at least you must have the conviction that you are entering into a good film project, a worthy film project. That should be your focus. But then,
Right.
it was very difficult to convince film producers. I'm talking about 84, 85. So I said, Chalo, I have to keep the bank account rolling. I can't be just waiting for these guys to. So luckily for me, this is what I call innovation. Doordarshan opened up in 80s.
Okay.
You see, across the country, they set up LPD centers and they wanted productions. They wanted, films, projects to show on TV. So I went and knocked on the doors and I said, I'm willing to make documentaries. He said, wow, you're willing to make documentaries? I said, yeah, of course, I'll make good documentaries for you. And Venu, you won't believe, from 1984 to 2000, I made 350 documentaries for
Wow.
Doordarshan. 350. I was a factory.
Wow.
Any subject they had, Hariharan, can you do this? It's a little complicated, more complicated, better for me. So I have done series on secularism, for example, a 13-part series on secularism, 13-part
My God.
series on the Jnanapith Award winners, another 26-part series on the Alvars, the poets, the Vaishnava poets. I said, I'll do
Amazing.
anything. So I would study, I would go deep, and that was a joy for me. My God, I learned about Andal, Periyalvar, all these. Wow, these are fantastic guys. How can I be like these masters? So they were my models, role models. So that is another thing in career building is very important. Who and what is your role model that you want to work
Right.
upon? And is that role model inspiring you enough, bringing you that sense of joy? Then take up the role model. But if you take a role model, James Cameron, hey, that guy is avatar. He's having $200 million in his laptop. Don't take him as he's good to watch. Don't take him as a role model. I want to be the next James Cameron. It's not possible. So admire his film, watch his film, but when it comes to your film, Who is your role model? Which you think, as I said, a combination of artistic endeavors and capabilities. Both have to come together. And you focus on that role model. And if you can get a choice to work as that person's assistant or associate, go ahead. Go join that person and say, I want to be your associate because you are my role model. And I think that is very important for a filmmaker. You see, unlike a person who takes up a job in computers or software programming, they don't need role model. They know the job has to be done on location. You got to code, you
Correct.
got to do that. You do it. But here is your work. Your name is going to come up on that. When I see something AI work, I don't know who did design this software. You see, but when I see a
Right.
film, I know who was responsible for this film. To take up that responsibility. But the big advantage for young generation today, young filmmakers, you don't always have to look at feature films today. You can look at so many short films. Look at the short films and say, why can't I do a 20-minute film? Why do I always pitch there? You see, make a nice 20-minute film. There are enough sponsors to make 20-minute films also today. You go on YouTube, you can see so many of them, little short films. Number one. Number two, very important for every young filmmaker to understand is that cinema is an international medium.
Right.
There is nothing like Tamil cinema, Malayalam cinema, Telugu cinema. There is a cinema in which people speak Malayalam. There is
Correct.
only cinema and there is cinema language. There is no Malayalam long shot. There is no Malayalam track shot. There is
Yeah.
there is a film. You must know the language well, and you may choose it to do it in Malayalam or Telugu or Kannada, whatever you want. But your film language should be good. You should have seen enough number of films to know what shot works well at what time. Once you know that, make short films. Why I say this is that look at producers, viewers outside India. Make films for somebody in France. Make film for somebody in Italy. Make film for somebody in Luxembourg. That person might be actually interested in what you're doing in India, you see. Because for them, there's, wow, this is a film possible like this? Sure. So, for example, I did a 36-part series on tourism in India, and which the Doordarshan has been
Amazing.
there. They are telecasted all over the world, all over the world. So it tells you
Now,
what. Tell me.
there is one aspect which I'd like to go in a little deeper on. This is indulgence. You spoke of creating a documentary on, uh, which was the very first thing. Um
On secularism.
secular. How do you
Secularism,
even
yes.
begin to visualize secularism? You have
That's
the
fantastic.
common tropes, of showing
Absolutely.
the melding of religions and all those. But
Right,
as a
right.
filmmaker, how do you approach it? What were the kind of things that went through your mind? If you could just go a little deeper into that, and then we'll come back.
Oh, surely I'll tell you. So when they said, of course, obviously it is a government mandate that has come to Doordarshan, 13-part
Right.
series on secularism. So I said, can you handle it? I said, "Oh, of course I can handle it. So where do I see secularism in function? Not as theory, in function. So I said, for example,
Okay.
in a in a typical wedding food, the food that is served in a typical, say, let us say a Brahmin wedding. And I said, look at that food that is being served on a Brahmin wedding table on a yelai, green yelai. You'll see Jahangiri, you'll see Badusha, you'll see Sutar Feni. All these are Islamic sweets. How interesting. In a typical Hindu Brahmin wedding, Islamic sweets are served and they're not even changing the name. They still call it Jahangiri and Badusha and Sutar Feni. I said, this is fantastic that you are accepting all this, and you are willing to. I said, for example, when a woman wears a Banaras silk sari for a wedding, where is it coming from? It's coming from Muslim weavers in Banaras. So we go to Banaras and we see Muslim weavers weaving these beautiful red saris, and it is being worn in Hindu weddings. I said,
Right.
this is secularism in action for me. And I went to Ram Leela grounds when Dasara celebration. And I found that all the artists who are working, the big effigy of Ravana, and these get to break, all those fellows are Muslims who have made that Ravana effigy. Even the guys who are acting as Rama and Lakshmana, they are also Muslim boys. How wonderful. I said, this is how secularism functions in India. And I say, for example, in mainstream Hindi cinema, the top four actors: Salman Khan, Shah Rukh Khan, Saif Ali Khan, and Salman. All these are Muslim actors playing Hindu roles. Nobody's objecting to this.
True.
I said, that is, you see, secularism in action. So I told them that is what my subject is. Not secularism as theory, but secularism in action. So I looked at sports in India, I look at mathematics in India, architecture of India. I said, wow, you see so many ways secularism functioning everywhere. Yes, it is functioning, but that is because I'm a pragmatist and I'm a positivist. I'm an optimist. And I don't see any area where I should kind of feel a discord, in why is this temple built in this style and why is the mosque built in that style. I don't see any discord. I see pragmatism at work, creativity at work, positivity at work. And so I traveled all over India doing this documentary film, and every moment was an aspect of enjoyment. So that is what I said. You asked me, how do I picture secularism? Secularism in
No,
action.
I think you answered it exactly as to how you visualize something, because I wanted to go a little deeper into that. When it's very easy to go down the road of preaching and then say that
Hmm.
purely from a this is how you should be. But the moment
Ah,
you chose to use these kind of things which are part of your daily life, but you have no clue as to its origins,
correct.
it makes you really pause and sort of
Absolutely.
reconsider this whole aspect of
Yeah.
what you taught and what you see and how you
Yeah,
celebrate,
yeah.
which is
Absolutely. Be-
brilliant. Hats off to
It's
you
very
for
important, because secularism is simply saying that respect for all religion. So religion is a very important word that comes up. But
right,
how is secularism actually functioning? So then I said, for example, all
right.
the Bhakti poets of India, all the Bhakti poets are from lower castes, and they spoke about the highest values of Hinduism. How did we as people accept this? It is said by low caste people. You take Tukaram, you take Gorak Kumbar, you take so many people in poetry, all low caste people, but they spoke profound Vedas. They had their own ways of expressing. So I see myself as the modern day Tukaram. Then how am I going to communicate to the people my joy of learning this? You see, but for that I have to do a lot of study. I have to sit with scholars in
Right.
libraries and say, tell me what was Tukaram's exact intention when he wrote this? How did this person write this? How did that person? How did the architect? I sat with the architects and said, what is Indo-Saracenic architecture, for example? How
Okay.
did Muslim architecture and Indian architecture combine itself? And they taught me so many things, and I used to take copious notes of all that they said and visualize it and not say it. Show it, but don't say it. And
Okay.
everybody who saw the series says, "Oh, we learned so much with this." When I do tourism, we do go to so many places, Mahabalipuram, for example, and I tell the history of Mahabalipuram. What should have been Mahabalipuram in those days? Built in 732, AD. What was it? Why was this left like this? What was left? So, lots of imagination from my side, lots of references from great scholars, all that put in very simple ways to audiences and say, this is what it is. It is as simple as that. The moment audience feel
Right.
that, how it is as simple as that, they accept it. There will be some scholars who will say, hey, Hari, you have made it very simplistic. I said, no, I think I have done a good job. And I think it is important to, one second, let me just pause. I pause for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for me, that this secularism idea, I use a slightly more, sometimes you have to educate them a little beyond that. So I told them our reference to secularism is syncretism. 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 So how do you differentiate between secularism and syncretism? I said very simple. Make it very simple for them. Secularism is a large bowl of vegetable salad, where you see the tomato, lettuce, carrots, and cucumber, everything separately. That is secularism, where they're all living together. Syncretism, putting it into a mixie and blending it into one. Put all these vegetables into a grinder and make it into one juice. That is syncretism, where we all live together as carrot and tomato, and we don't see the differences. We all learn to live together. That is syncretism, and I think that is what we are. India is more of a syncretic nation, not a secular nation, and therefore, as a syncretic nation, we also give holiday for Diwali, Guru Nanak Jayanti, Mahatma Gandhi Jayanti. It's very
Right.
syncretic. It is very syncretic.
Yeah.
We are not afraid of spelling out a religious holiday in the way the
And
European and American nations are.
exactly. And like you said, we don't need to have that fear either because we are an amalgam of so many different aspects. But let me come
Exactly.
to, yeah, the part about, I think it's not just curiosity, it is the depth. You didn't stop at being curious. You went very deep into whatever you were doing. And can you tell me at some point how, as the equipment changed and you were able to leverage some of the new technologies, how did your way of working change? Because you talked of
Oh,
linear editing was one of the, the only ways in which you could edit earlier. The moment non-linear editing came, you could suddenly examine what happened when you mixed and matched scenes. Could
true,
you
true.
give me some instances of what you felt were the defining aspects of filmmaking changing over the years?
Yeah. So when you shoot with digital cameras, you have a luxury of shooting endlessly almost. When I was shooting on film, I had to be always conscious of how much raw stock I have got. I can afford to keep.
Yeah,
So if it is just say a 2 hour film, I will shoot an hour and 20 minutes. For to get an hour and 20
okay,
minutes, I will shoot 2 hours. But now with digital, I've got an in endless amount of footage. But my training in analog cinema helped me here. So I was not just shooting off, endlessly and saying that we will take it. No, I will always be conscious of the editing table. So that's my first advice. Always understand, will this come in your film? Don't take the shot just for shooting's sake. Will this actually come in your film? You have your plan done. Why are you shooting this in the first place? You see? So I will have the luxury of shooting something extra, but not go on endlessly. So I find many young people today, if they come on the editing on the digital editor system, and they have got something like 300 hours of footage, and they want just 3 hours out of it. And how are you going to throw 270 hours out of this? You see? So
right,
don't load yourself with problems. Come yourself with advantages of what you have good shot well, think that properly and use it. Don't just go on shooting. I have seen digital shooting, they don't even switch off the camera. They'll say, take two. Hey, switch it off the camera, switch it on again. That is a good habit to do, But they'll just switch on. The second problem with digital camera is that then after the shot is taken, everybody has the opportunity to see what you have shot. You see, they all want to see how have I come on the screen. When I shoot on
right,
film, they can't see what they have shot. It has to go to the laboratory, process it, and then only I can see for myself. So
right,
that is democracy at function. It can be sometimes very disturbing because everybody wants to see the film, what they have come on. And then they will start taking decisions. Oh, I don't look nice. I'm the wrong. No, my nose is looking too big. My face is looking like this, like that. And I can't tell them, look, this is what I want. You bloody well accept. I don't want to be rude. So I try to bring down those aspects as much as possible to tell the unit, look, leave that to us. Please leave that. We have taken a very conscious decision as to why we are happy with this shot. We'll take it. But the big advantage with the coming of digital sound is sound. You see, now you have a completely silent camera and you are able to now record good sound on the location, which in a film camera I could not do because the camera was noisy. Krrrr, it will make a noise and I can't
yeah,
record.
just
I
a
have to come to the
constant,
post production to dub it. And many people, after shooting digital, they also come to dub it. I said, don't do this dubbing business. After all, you have got a silent camera, record it on location, but they follow some of the bad habits from the previous, and that is casting actors who can't speak, but they look
ah,
appropriate, but they can't speak the language. I said, why are you casting such people? Bring a person who can speak the language properly. Instead of saying no, that's That is the old world, where you could cast actors from other language and dub all their voices. Today, you must learn to work with resources who are capable of giving live sound. And when you do live sound, and they say, sir, there's so much noise on the location, how do we manage? Look at any TV program today, There are people they're coming out of a function, politicians coming, and there are 30 microphones stuck in front of his face. They're all recording, right? Do they
Right.
care about the noise from that, car behind? No, it is recording. Today, microphones are so good. They record anything everywhere properly. So leverage that instead of sticking to the old idea of dubbing. So never dub today. That is always my advice. Do not dub your film. Always use live sound on the location. Get a proper soundtrack of what we call as an international soundtrack, and which you can dub it into another language later on. So after all, today Avatar is released in Tamil version. You see, and
Yeah,
you
which
wonder
is
because the original soundtrack was very properly done in English or whatever it is. It is done properly, and now you can dub it in whatever language you want. So that is the first big advantage. The next big advantage with digital is that you can do very good advantage with green screening. So there's something called green screen. So
yeah.
you can actually should go on location and you find that, oh, this is too dark now. This forest is not looking correct now. Put a green screen behind, shoot the person, and come back and layer the correct forest that you want on the green screen. Now, this is a huge advantage, you see, for you. Do all that. Then you have got microphones which are so tiny. You can pin it inside, you won't even see it. Use such microphones. And mind you, they are not expensive.
Right.
There are Chinese microphones, Korean microphones. You can just buy them on Amazon, go buy it, do some test work and learn. But the digital advantage for me, the greatest advantage is that you can go back to referring to good film that you feel like watching, a good cinema that you always, and play it frame by frame and see how that was done on the location by these actors. At what point of time did the actor turn his face to look at something and come back? At what point of time did the lighting change? These are things you can observe minutely today, which I could not. When I see on film, I could not. So this new generation must leverage the idea of digital filmmaking and digital reproduction. And once you know that you can actually see a product very well, go ahead, use it. Leverage it to the best of your advantage. Don't suddenly say, oh, this is not possible. Because you might have one old man, an old cameraman shooting your film will say, no, no, I know the right way. Tell him, you please go. We know the new way. Not you are the right way, but I'm giving you the new way forward. So you must have that courage to do live sound. And internationally speaking, our films will get a better viewership if it is live sound.
Okay.
The moment
Great.
international market see dubbing sound, they cancel your film.
Okay. Let me just do that summarization and come back to you.
Okay.
Because Mr. Hariharan spoke about how when producers were changing in the 80s, they wanted rewards, not awards from films, meaning they wanted more commercial returns rather than artistic satisfaction. And he spoke of how Doordarshan came into being and was sponsoring or was making a whole lot of documentaries, and that's where he saw an opportunity. And he's created as many as 350 documentaries during the time that he's worked on everything from secularism to underverse to tourism. And it was fascinating to hear of how he tackled something as abstract as secularism, because it's not easy. And the examples that he gave and the way he saw it change is remarkable. He spoke of the change from analog to digital and what you can do in digital now, which you couldn't do in analog. Everything from the sound to green screens to getting exactly what you wanted. And I think he gives some extremely practical aspects of filmmaking where the discipline is still necessary, even if the technology has vaulted over what it was before. In the final segment, and this, I really hate to, keep this within this, because I think what he's saying is something that people should imbibe if they are involved in filmmaking as a career. Is how do you, what are the things that you should retain, which are the clearest aspects of filmmaking?
Hmm. It's a very difficult question to answer because there are millions of things. But to start with, I always say that you start off with what you are capable of. Don't go on what you are imagining of. What are you capable of?
Okay.
So I'll tell you a simple thing, very simple thing to start off with. Make a film about somebody you know very well. Okay. So I tell them who. I say, for example, if you are living at home and you know your mother very well, make a film about your mother. A
Okay.
2 minute film, 3 minute film. And I'll give you one more challenge. Tell me a film, show me a film about your mother without showing her.
Wow.
Don't show her. What does your mother represent for you? What is that food that she makes? What is the chappal that she wears? What is the little bindi that she uses for her forehead? What kind of vegetable she goes shopping for? Just observe your and make a shot. Make about 10 shots in 2.5 minutes. Make about it. Don't show her. Now show this little 2.5 to 3 minute film to your relative and ask him, "This Yarana, who is this person I'm showing you?" And if they say, "Hey, you are talking about your mother," you have won it.
Yeah.
You have shown your mother
Absolutely.
without actually showing her. No, first express. Then you say, "What do you know about weather? What do you know about your dog? What do you know about anything? Something that you love." Make a film without sound, without the person, and what we call as representation. Okay, so what do I mean by representation? After all, in grammar, we learn something like metaphor, synonym, metonymy, simile. These are all figures of speech. So the first thing I understand that cinema is a figure of speech and not the word. The fact that I am wearing a whitish shirt today is a figure of speech that you have chosen a frame in which I have my guru's film poster behind, Ritvik Ghatak's Megadaka Tara behind, is telling who I am. So these are all show the person who is Hariharan. That he's got a library behind. He keeps reading so many books. He's got Sant Tukaram also on the top of the frame. So how did all this come about? These are representations. These are representations. So keep always working about what is it representing. The film is reproducing an image, but what is it representing? If you can get to this by reading poetry, by seeing dance, by hearing great music, I will always advise young students to listen to non-verbal music. Say, for example, take Beethoven's 9 symphonies. Listen to the 9 symphonies. Close your eyes, meditate on it, and say, what does the fifth symphony mean to you? Da 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 da, da 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 da. What does it represent to you? What does this sound make to you? And think about it, meditate on it, and you will get some shots. Da 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 da. How do you visualize? Da 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 da. Or when you take Mozart, you go da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-da-da, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum. So music, you see, is very, very important not to use in your film, but to imagine. Because music is the most abstract art ever invented. Ever. Non-verbal
Absolutely.
music. The moment you put lyrics in it, it turns to get vocal, verbal meanings. But non-verbal music is a great thing to go to because becomes an enormous software in your brain. It allows for associations, allows for references, allows for feelings and emotions, which you never know they were inside you. You might listen to
Yeah.
Beethoven and then feel certain emotions you have never felt before, you see. And say, I want to bring this somehow. So, this is the visualization, abstraction, and figures of speech. If you can get through this first, and don't bring actors and start getting them to talk in front of. So when I must tell you something, when I go to colleges and see their short films, 8 out of 10 films have only one subject: love failure. I said,
Most
why are
important
you?
to them at that stage in life.
My girl
Yeah,
broke up with me. Yeah, that is, I agree with you. I feel sorry for you. Your girl broke up with you. But is that
yeah,
the only subject in the world? Then, sir, what I that affected me deeply. I agree with you. It affected you deeply. But when you go to an ordinary Saravana Bhavan or you go to have idli dosa, do you know who is serving these places? There is a person from Nepal. There's a person from Bihar. There is a person from Meghalaya. And you go to all these beauty parlors, all these girls that come from Northeast to do
right.
hairstyling and hair cutting. Don't you want to know more about these people? How beautifully they have come to Trivandrum and Chennai and adapted themselves. Make a film about them. This is an unusual thing that is happening in our country. It is democracy at its best because you have never told them, hey, what are you guys doing from Nepal here or Meghalaya or Shillong? Go. We never told them. We accommodated them. See this as a positive aspect. Make a film about that little boy who has come all the way from Meghalaya and serving you idli. Make a film about that boy and find out about his father, mother, home. Learn something from that boy. So, cinema must also inform the world about newer developments, about the fundamentals of democracy. Democracy is always changing. It is not about party, this party versus that party. No, democracy is what you and I do. Demo, be the people who rule this world. So you must have that confidence that you are a democratic citizen of a fantastic country. This country has given so much to the world. You should be proud of everything that is happening. Make critical films, but don't make films which are abusing the world around you. Your critical world must be there. Your critical faculty must work. But don't say that is good and this is bad, because the world is not divided into binaries. The
Yeah,
world is divided into multiple zones, multiple angles, multiple perspectives. Open up those perspectives and let the audience decide what is good and what is bad. You don't go propaganda. This is propaganda film thing. This fellow is bad fellow, that fellow is good fellow. Get out of that. Let them realize what is good and bad. So make a film about your own parents. They might be stifling you. Do this, angapo, ingepo, shouting at you. Okay, listen to them. They have a point of view. And how do you understand that point of view? Your teacher has a point of view. Listen to all of them and develop your own point of view. So that is where I go back to the Renaissance. We say it started with perspective, the horizon, and how things shrink as they move towards the horizon. The foreground looks bigger than the midground and the background. Thoughts must also have like that, a foreground, midground, and background. How do you arrange this? How do you arrange this in your film? How do you arrange characters like this in your film? And automatically the meaning will come through. So composition creates meaning. That is the first line you must learn. It is the composition that creates meaning and not your dialogue. Where you
right.
keep your camera and how do you light it? Is it indoors, outdoors? Is it night, day? All this is meaningful. And if you can create meaning with just these images, I think you are all set to become a fantastic filmmaker. And there are so many
Okay.
short films on YouTube, and you can pick up so many varieties and learn from them.
That I think is one of the biggest changes in the last couple of decades. YouTube has allowed a depth of exploration of everything from subjects to time to practically every aspect under the sun. But what in your mind is one of the best starting points? I think you mentioned two or three very important bits of where you start making a film. And how do you then build the depth over time to understand the subject better rather than simply go for attention, which seems to be the biggest thing that people are aiming for today? If I manage to get your attention, I'm fine. I've succeeded, which is
Mm.
not, which really doesn't go anywhere. So,
Very
how do
true.
you uh, enable them to understand that you need to go beyond attention, because you might appeal to a smaller base of people, but they will understand and value what you have made a lot more.
Yeah. So that means what you have clearly referred to is that these films are not about sensations.
Yeah,
So sensational things create attention. So, for example, if I raise my voice and if I shout loudly, you will create attention, because you are becoming a sensation at the point, which is what most of our TV news anchors are doing. They are having a shouting match, everybody shouting over their each other's voices and presuming that this is getting attention. No, it is not getting attention. So what creates attention to you? Again, cinema in that sense is a very personal art as much as observational art. You watch something and it creates your attention. No, you want to say something which can be same attention. What do you want to say? What do you want to show? And to show, you must have enormous observational skills. If you have not observed the world around, if you have seen your world around only on your mobile phone, on WhatsApps and Facebook messages and Instagram messages, that is a limited part of the world. Just go out and see what is the world about. Make friends with people who you don't know at all. Make friends with random people on their locations and learn from them. Once you decide to learn from the world around you, you are obviously going to build up certain ideas and formulations because they have to come in. They have come inside you. You better do something about it. So you'll formulate some kind of a opinion for yourself. Double check this opinion. You got on AI. You can go double check. Is this my right opinion about these people? And it will tell you whether it's a right opinion or wrong opinion. Talk to friends. So what happens is, making a film becomes an exercise in creating new friends, live, face to face, touching each other, sharing a cup of tea. It's a huge, huge advantage. Instead of just talking on a mobile WhatsApp message, on a face, talk to each other, meet personally, and then you will see the value of that. Wow, I could actually, feel that boy, the shirt he was wearing, the pant the chappal he was putting on. Oh my God, this fellow is very different from all the guys that kind of people meet. So you have seen me only like this, in a mid shot like this. But I'm more than this close up. Definitely. Say, why don't we actually go? Somebody coming to Chennai and say, hey, I want to meet this Hariharan personally. Go meet him. He is at home very much waiting to talk to people. Come and meet me. Come and send your screenplays to me and I will advise you. Now, I'll tell you one small little tip here. Why has the films of Hollywood, even the most ordinary film in Hollywood, looks better than so many Indian films? One reason,
Okay.
and that is every screenplay goes through an examination process. And they are called script clinics. So
Okay.
all these people, they write their screenplay and send it without putting their name on it to a script clinic. And they will evaluate it and they will say, this scene needs a little more, this is not done, this is not done. And they give you suggestion. You pay money, they give you suggestion. And then if at the 3 or 4 corrections, you get an A grade, you have to just take that A grade script and give it to the producer. And the producer is a corporate guy. He's an MBA, he is not a filmmaker. He immediately, oh, you're giving me an A grade script. I better look at it. You see, you come with that confidence that I have been graded A. So if this can happen among young filmmakers, where they can actually exchange screenplays and ideas among themselves and get them graded, listen to other people's opinions. Oh my God, this person thinks very differently. I think I should listen to this person. Now, where is it actually happening? Now, I'm not talking in the idea, in the air. This is actually happening in the world of construction. For
Right.
example, if you make a building, you draw, you must get it approved by that CMDA or some authority. They have to stamp on it and say this building is worthy of building. Exactly. A screenplay should be worthy of making a film on. Once it is stamped,
So true.
that's immediately it works because you should tell the actor who wants to change the line, sir, you can't change it is already approved. You can't go on changing what you want here. This is what it is written. You please work on this. So what happens? You are not afraid of this idea being stolen by anybody because it becomes a printed document. You can circulate it to all the members of your unit because it is registered, copyrighted. So that is all modern day. You should become a modern filmmaker. Copyright your screenplays, copyright your ideas, and see that nobody changes it, because somebody has taken the effort to read it and approve it. So, it is like a well drafted architectural plan, and you build the house. You can't say, can I have the kitchen there, Vastu? Sir, you cannot change it. The plumbing line is here, the beams are here, the columns are here. If your Vastu doesn't suit, please go find some other house. Simple, simple. We
Fabulous.
have to learn from the world outside.
Yeah, all the time. On that note, Hariharan, we'll have to leave it here for now, but I would have loved to take this for hours on end because I know there is so much in your mind that I can tap into. So I'll just finish up the things, and I'd request you to hang on for stay for a couple of minutes. I'd just like to talk
Okay,
to you after, and then we'll take it
sure.
from there.